Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Same conversationalists, and this is a special day. If you're a crayon, a clam, or a Bunsen burner, it's your national day, and we celebrate you. We also celebrate things like bus timetables, and it's because of those that we're going to have the conversation that is coming next. And Gabby has raised the spectre of flexibility. I don't think that she is referring to my ability or lack thereof to touch my toes or to hold a full lotus position, but we will find out because she is about to tell us about flexibility and why we're going to have this conversation.
Well, the thought came up for me, dear listener, if you listened to the last episode, we were talking about dogs living completely in the presence, which is lovely. But then as human beings, we have to worry about things. Dogs don't have to worry, or pets don't have to worry where the next meal is coming from because we provide them. So as much it's lovely to live in the presence and it's healthy, we also have to anticipate the future, not to walk blindly into trouble, but we need to be flexible and balanced, because there's one thing anticipating the future in a healthy way, and there's overthinking, or there's strict rule keeping where we're not flexible at all anymore, and miss opportunities because we have these blinkers on and we just walk right into trouble as well. So I just want to put it out there, like, how do we make sure we stay flexible, balanced, and still anticipate the future without overthinking?
Well, one thing that comes immediately to mind is the complexity of our ability to do that. Because it's not just thinking, I need to get a bus back from town, or, what's going to be in the fridge for dinner. There's so much other stuff, as from a sort of psychological perspective. You have to have a dynamic, flexible mindset. You have to understand internal and external locus of control, not necessarily knowing the names, but knowing that there's things that are within your power to control and things that are not within your power. And then there's the task focus, like you said, with the blinkers on, ignoring the rest of life that's happening around you, and just, I've got to get to Tuesday because that's the day that I go to the baker's. I don't know why I said bakers in a funny way then, but I did. And if you're not able to bring all of these things in together, then the chances are, rather than anticipating and planning and being done with it, you will overthink, or worry and paranoia will creep in. And before you know it, getting to the baker's on Tuesday is a major upheaval in your life if anything goes wrong with it. So we say flexibility. I mean, it's a bit like Gary said earlier, cancel culture. So, oh yeah, you've got to be flexible. Okay, are you able to be flexible? Depends on a whole host of reasons.
I don't think okay. So I don't think there's a quick script for this, right? And a quick prescriptive, this is what you have to do in order for a balanced, flexible life. Because if there is, please somebody tell me what that is, because I find flexibility is great in that shit happens, right? And in order to successfully manage when those times happen, flexibility has to be present, right? To be able to ebb and flow with what it is, knowing that we don't have control over things outside of us, right? We can only control how we respond to things. And I think a sense of flexibility within that is necessary in order to gracefully handle whatever it is that's coming our way. But for me, I think where I get stuck in this, right, in trying to figure out how to ideally live a life where this is all in place, is the difference between being rigid and being disciplined, right? For me, there's a nuance in there, right? There's a nuance in there that, wait a minute, could look like rigidity from an outlooker to someone who's disciplined, but it's really just discipline in the systems and processes that we have in place in order to live a successful life. This is a personal viewpoint, right? Because I don't know how else to feel balanced without certain disciplines and systems and processes happening. For me, flexibility errs on the side of the Wild West. It's sort of like willy-nilly, whatever, I'm flexible, I'm going with it. And that sets my whole nervous system into a fucking up in flames. It's like, I don't know how to deal with that. So there is some wiggle room, obviously, for all of us inside of all of this, because I used to be super, I know this is a shock, super, super rigid when I was younger, like beyond rigid in the way that I did things or the organization. But, you know, the feedback that you get from that and my own response to that was like, wait, well, lighten up, right? Like, let's refer back to the first episode we recorded today. There's wiggle room. There's wiggle room. This is a pendulum swing again, right? So somewhere in the middle is what got the balance that Gabby's speaking about. But again, I'm stuck in the discipline or rigid. What is it? You know, there's a nuance there for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've probably all experienced going from, modern Western kind of culture to, like a manana attitude. Yeah, tomorrow. And you're like, ugh. And I believe this may be one of the problems with call centers outside of your own country, is that the approach is very different. You speak to a call center in a country that's got a very everything will happen when it's supposed to kind of mindset, and you're on a fixed deadline. This has got to happen by that date, because then the two don't mix well. And because of that misunderstanding, much as we were talking about blanket labeling, it's like all call centers in foreign countries are rubbish, but when actually what you're experiencing is maybe a mirror to say, just chill a little. I mean, Erica, we've joked in the past, you even mentioned, like today before we started recording what it's like to be waiting for Brett. Brett clearly has a much more flexible approach to his timekeeping than you do. It's a wonder that you're sane.
This is a good point though, because again, it has less to do with Brett and more to do with me, because I can't and don't want to and would never dream of controlling Brett and the way that he navigates his time. So I can only, and this speaks to everybody, that I think the flexibility and the rigidity comes with external events, right? Like missing the bus or the bus not coming on time. I can't control that. I cannot control that. So it would serve me well to be flexible in my thinking about what that actually means. Okay, I can't control the damn bus, so I'm going to be late. That doesn't mean I'm late because I chose to be late. I have no control over that. So I have to be flexible in that. But the rigidity and the discipline comes with making sure I am waiting for the bus on time. It's like I personally am not going to be flexible in the whatever, I'll get there when I get there. There'll always be another bus coming, right? Kind of thinking, if my intention is to be where I need to be on time. So I think that's the key also, is that it's about external factors and how we think about them, because, how many times has it, I wanted to do that today, but now it's raining and we can't do that. And if I have no flexibility of thinking, I'm going to get stuck in that and be miserable all day, make everybody around me miserable because it's raining. Right?
Which also brings up expectancy. We're talking about buses because Gabby lives in Ireland, and for those who are not aware, timetables in Ireland are a general kind of principle, not necessarily anything to be stuck to rigidly. And she feared that she may be late for today's recording. But that blaming that, you very clearly said, as I would have expected from you, you cannot control Brett. But that rigidity of thinking that it's the bus company's fault and the driver's fault, and externalizing all sorts of blame rather than thinking, okay, I know that buses sometimes run late or get cancelled. I may just have to wait for another bus, or worst case, I have to flag an Uber or a passing. Do you know what? I was once stopped on holiday in Greece. A man jumped out into the road and just shouted, "Hospital!" And me and my then partner were like, "Oh God, the guy needs to get to hospital." So we turned the car around and we drove him right up, to the doors. And then he got a badge out, clipped it on, and walked in. And he was a member of staff. And I thought, what a way to go about getting a lift. Just screech hospital. And, we drove like an hour and a half out of our way to get him there on holiday. There's flexibility in your thinking.
Well, he might have to get urgent air to take a shift of somebody who got sick on, so you still rescued him in a way. But I'm wondering, when I heard you talk, is the giveaway of being too rigid when we start getting stressed, emotionally stressed, like getting annoyed at other people or the bus company, stressing ourselves out, pressuring ourselves.
Perhaps, but it's so funny that, and I'm not shocked that you brought that end up, and I'm over here thinking, is there danger in being too flexible, right? Like when people are worried about, if I'm not flexible in this, what is so-and-so going to think? Or how do I have to bend to this so that XYZ happens? And is an inability to not have boundaries speak directly to how flexible you think you need to be, right? Because I think ultra flexibility is dangerous as well. Just constantly just going with it, not really having any sort of, yeah, it's okay, I'm bending. And I'm like, when I hear flexibility, I think of like, they sway. It's kind of just like, I just go, it's cool. And it's chill. I can do whatever. Why? Like the why though, there could be a danger to that, the way that I see it.
So what's the danger, Erica?
The danger, I think, is not really just going with the flow because it makes everybody else happy. To not ruffle feathers, to just not put pressure on other people to think that they have to do it a certain way. Like, I'm all right. You want to do that? Yeah, all right, I'll do that. Just because.
The question is, why is that a problem?
Well, it's a problem if you're ignoring what you really want and you're only doing that so that you don't cause disruption for other people.
So the act in itself is not a problem. It's where it's coming from, what's motivating us to be like that. It could be that we really value connection, and actually we're cool going with the flow. Everything's fine. If you're stressing like that, let's do it that way. And if that keeps us connected, what's your problem? And if I'm happy with that, like you say,
if you're happy with that.
If you're not happy with that and you're building up resentment, that's where the problem comes in. So it's not the act in itself, it's what's going on internally, isn't it? As with all of these things. And sometimes we don't understand why we are that flexible or that rigid. What will happen if I'm not? What will happen if I assert myself? What will happen if I loosen up a bit? What then is happening?
I think we're looking at this clearly on a spectrum. One end is fragility through rigidity. The fact that something really stiff doesn't bend it and it tends to break. And at the other end, you can be so flexible that your own needs, desires, wants, etc., can be rolled over. So I'm wondering what the sweet spot is for flexibility. Brett,
well, I'm not answering this question because
it's funny because I have no problem like going with the flow, the whole 9 yards. But then when it comes to work or a process to get something completed, that's where I get rigid. Because if you don't do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you skip something, that causes an issue that now you have to go back to something. You know what I mean? So there's a balance there. So once for me, right? Because I'm like procedures, what goes on in my head. So once it's like a process, and I've already done my experiment. If somebody asked me, "Hey, why don't we do it this way?" and I've never done it that way, I'm like, "All right, cool, let's do it," because now it's an experiment, and I'll check it out, and I'll give it the time to see if it works or it doesn't work. But that can either make my process more streamlined, better, or worse. And then it just adds to, yes, you know what, my process A through Z, this is why I do it, because it's time efficient and I don't miss anything. Everything gets done in the timely manner, and I don't miss that one piece that you have to go back and now there's a violation or there's something unsafe that was done. So it's like a balance. As far as time and having to go to the movies and be early and stuff like that, it's like it's a movie. You got like a half hour of the soda bottle jumping around on the screen, like, come by me, you want this, and I'm like, I'm okay if I miss that, but I don't really miss that. You know what I mean? I'm still getting there, and I'd rather not in those times stress myself. Right? So it's like, how long it takes to get there. Like, just enjoy the moment, enjoy, your company and what's going on, and move through it in a freer way. And the hard part is, like I said, like, it's work. It's even if I'm doing something at the house, it's stuff like that for some reason is just, for me, like a puzzle. And it's more efficient to do it in a certain way. I want to do things efficiently. Getting somewhere, all right, I know I got to be there by such and such time. I got XYZ I got to do, or whatever they are. Doesn't matter what order. I have this window to do it in, kind of thing. Do I run late here and there? I do. I don't know.
Gosh, I'm laughing.
I just want to bring this to our viewers' attention. Please rewind that and watch Erica's body language change during the time that Brett was speaking.
Well, two things.
Erica's got to be there a half hour early.
Two things are coming up for me here, right? Like, first of all, I'm going to go back to my original question of, is there a difference? What is the difference, if there is even one, between rigidity and discipline, right? Like, can you be disciplined without being rigid? I don't know. I'm really looking for somebody to give me an answer here between the difference, if there is one. Secondly, what's dawning on me is, how do people in relationship navigate when one is more rigid and one is more flexible, right? And where is the sweet spot in that? In who's more valid, right? Because Brett has his own views, and yeah, it's no big deal for him to be flexible, but it's also important for me to get there when I want to get there. So again, do I have to become more flexible on that? Can he be a little more disciplined or rigid in his thinking of and awareness of it causes her more fucking disruption than it causes me? So let's just get there. Like, this is a question. This is a legit question that I have
appreciate
for anyone
it's
else.
a genuine question, and if you are watching this, Erica will really appreciate this. Gary, I saw you shake your head at one point. What would you like to?
Who knows what I was shaking my head at? I think, is one better than the other? No, I don't think one is better than the other. I think probably it comes down to, as well as some nurture about how we were brought up, I think it becomes how we are hardwired. And I think there is a lot of neurodiversity in this. And so for some people to be able to be either more disciplined or more relaxed can take an awful lot of energy. It just saps them of energy trying to keep to a particular schedule. It just drains them. The same with thing, and you will notice this with some people more than others. No, you don't have to keep to that schedule. It's okay to have a change, but they're so focused that actually moving away from that causes incredible stress. Now, when we talk about, the spectrum, an autistic spectrum, well, you can see it one way and the other very clearly, but actually in between, we all have different areas where we struggle. I find it energy sapping to plan a long time ahead. I just do. And so when my wife, Anne, takes on that and she goes, I've been doing this, guy, I've got all this sort of, thank goodness. Cool. Don't need to worry about that. I can do other things where my brain is taking me, because my brain will take me on the next rabbit hole and I will go down there and happily follow it forever. I'm happy going down rabbit holes. And that's wonderful. Gives me energy. It feeds my brain. Gives me lots to talk about. It doesn't get the holiday planned. It really doesn't. It doesn't get me to work on time. When I went years ago, when I was a student nurse, I used to walk into class and they go, here's the late Gary Kennedy. Time didn't mean anything. Still didn't mean an awful lot to me. And so, okay, I'm a bit late. Have I missed anything in particular? I don't worry about it then. But yeah, so I think that there's a lot to do with hardwiring.
Yeah, a lot. And also how we see, I mean, for me, it's interesting to see how, that's why I like communication so much, how the word flexibility triggers so different thoughts, for example, in Erica and me. So for Erica, flexibility is all like, it's all like, well, it doesn't matter and people can walk all over me because my needs don't count. This is not what flexibility means to me at all. Flexibility just means that I'm not so stuck in my thinking that I actually cause myself problems because I have to keep this rule, I have to do it this way. And it doesn't mean that I don't have discipline. So, for example, if I do an event in a college, I am in time 10 minutes before because I'm disciplined to do that. But if I go to a party where I know there's 50 people and they don't even realize if I come in 15 minutes late or 20 minutes late, I'm not going to panic over being a little bit more late because nobody will even notice. So that's for me flexibility, because I knew people who had to be there 10 minutes, even if it's a party and it doesn't matter. And they were shouting into partners because we will be 10 minutes late. It didn't matter. There's 50 people there. But I always was disciplined to be in time and work. Unless the bus didn't turn up, but then, as we said, that's outside my control. But then I started getting up earlier and trying to get an earlier bus because the bus is always late in Ireland, so I know that. So I just got up early and tried to get an earlier bus. That's discipline. You know where I'm getting at?
It is no surprise to me that I am the rigid one. our group here, right? Like the rigid one who keeps track of the cards and does all of this, whatever. And when Gary was talking about, relaxing, right? Like even it was like, what? Like, what do you mean? I can't get there on time? Like time and me, I feel like we're supposed to be there at this time. What do you mean? We're not going to get there on time. My whole nervous system, again, goes up in flames if I think about not being rigid in that sense of this is when I have to do it and how I have to do it. How in the world am I getting anything done? This is what like the background noise is. How the fuck does anybody get anything done if they're not paying attention and rigid? I don't even like that word, but like sticking to this is the way that I got to do it. That's what goes on. So I'm sure I'm not the only one. Please, people out there, save me from myself and tell me that I'm not the only one that's living life like this. When I have a group of friends here that are all on the flexible side, right? And I'm always the one like, why isn't this happening? And I get, it's okay, it'll be cool. Da, da, da. Like, what do you mean?
We're just doing it to mess with you, Eric.
Well, it's working.
I'm reminded, Gabby, tell us the name of that island again where they don't do time.
Oh, I can't remember the name, but it's an island in Norway, I think.
A friend of mine was saying recently we should totally go there and like experience it. And
it's Sommeroy,
yeah.
You see, Erica was able to do that because
very rigid and disciplined. I'm right there.
I mean, the rest of us were like,
whatever. Who cares? We don't need to know. Yeah, it's out there now. Nobody really needs the answer. Me, I'm like, well, now you asked the question. We need the friggin' answer. So now I got to go find it.
But I think, Gary, it's right. It's how we brought up. It's our nervous system. It's also habit and culture. I probably was far more rigid in Germany, but I'm living now in Ireland for over 30 years. And, in Ireland, I will be grand. So I have taken that on. In Germany, it's like, let's prepare for this. In Ireland, I will be grand on the day.
Let me just tell you.
Even cultural outlook completely different, and I have taken that on more now as well,
The second Alec said that the bus times aren't really anything to pay attention to, I mental note. Oh shit! When we go to Ireland, I have to completely not care about bus times because to me, I'll be like, well, the bus is fucking late. Like, I don't get it. What do you mean? How's anybody gonna do what they're supposed to be doing if they can't depend on the bus to show up on time? This makes my mind go completely berserk. I don't know how to deal with that.
Instead of, when we're working in groups, especially, or working in teams, instead of actually going, oh, they can't do this, they can't do that, is we go, oh, their strength is timekeeping. Their strength is keeping us on track. Their strength is being flexible and being able to think outside the box and coming up with new ideas. And so I think being able to strength spot in a team is really valuable. And so instead of knocking people down, I think building people up and go, I don't need to worry about that because, Erica's got me covered with that. Erica will keep me on track. And I can go, okay, that's where Brett is going with this. I can allow him to have that wonder and to come up with something new, and we'll work on that. And Alec and Gabby will go, oh yeah, that's a really good idea. I wonder how we can do that practically. And so there's lots of different ways of working with this.
I was just going to, and I'll make this my closing thought for this one, is Gabby's comment about cultural difference. If anybody's ever experienced South Africans, it's like, when you can do that now? Okay. And you stand there and you stand there. And I thought you were going to do it. And it's like, well, yeah, but I said now. That could be like 3 or 4 days. All right. When are you going to do it? Well, now. Meaning? Well, probably sometime today. And it's not unless you can get a right now from them that you actually know that they're going to do something. So it's particularly for you, Erica, when you visit Cape Town or somewhere, it's like you want right nows from people. Brett will be all right with a now. Anybody got any close? Erica's like that. You're just making my life worse. I've now got to create a list of all the countries where I can't trust timekeeping.
So out of our members that watch us, I'm curious who's more flexible, who's more rigid, and what's the average. So if people are able to check in with, even if it's just rigid, flexible, whatever it is, just the one word, so we can kind of tally up and see which is the average. Who's the average? Which one? Rigid, flexible? I mean, come on. When I'm driving to work, I get to work on time, but when there's a car driving slow in front of me, I'm like, all right, maybe I need to slow down. Is this why they're driving slow in front of me? All right, and I just stay behind that person. And then if I see a car whipping past it in and out, I'm like, whew, don't want to be that guy. That guy's got to be somewhere. He is way late. So I'm aware of like what's going on around me. And I find it interesting, like looking at just where everybody is on the roadway. Who's the ones that are ripping in and out? And, I may be driving faster and going in and out, but I'll take my time with doing it. I won't quick dart in and out like, a speed racer, if you want to call it. I don't know. I think that's the flexible piece, is that I'm able to take a pause, even if I'm in a rush and somebody goes slow in front of me. If I want to like start getting my energy coming up and be like, come on, get out of the way. I'm like, oh, wow, what is that about? Like, I got time. Why do I want to jump to that? I don't know. So I don't know. I want to see what average is. Check in with where you're at. Flexible, rigid.
I'm curious to know that, but also like if you can identify what area on the spectrum that you are tend to more, if you notice what problems it might cause for you, right? And what difficulties you might have going the other way and why. Like, I mean, that's what I'm doing in this conversation here. Like, it's less about this is where I am and this is where I'm going to stay, and more about this is where I lean and what kind of problems does this cause me to like lean there, or the people around me to have that awareness to it, and how much to the other way do I think would feel comfortable for me, and why is it so hard to get there? Like, what is that about? That's personally what's going to happen to me later today. I'm going to be spending a lot of time thinking about how fucking rigid I am. And I'm less rigid than I used to be, which is the shock and the disbelief of it all. Like, believe it or not. Like, and then like being flexible and like, what's the discomfort about that, and how far am I willing to go?
There's a rich irony for me, Erica, in the fact that you, as a more rigid person, know that you are going to spend time today thinking about this, whereas the flexible people are just going to be like, I might think about it at some point, whether it bothers me to be more rigid, and you'll be there sharpening your pencils and
That's great.
It served me for some purpose, right? The rigidity and discipline it served me well in some areas, but there's some distress about it. Like Gabby said, it just causes you to cause your own pain and stress in, it's got to be this way. It's got, whatever. And more problems with people around you, because you think other people are supposed to be doing things the way that, you think, unless you know better, which I do. So it's really just my own problem.
So she thinks she knows better, right?
We'll, on that paradox and enigma, we will say goodbye, I think.